Good afternoon, everybody. Steven Ruderman here with your first Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants pregame show of the season. Tonight, the Giants begin their first three city road trips of the year. It's two of them are really weird. This one's weird. It's Baltimore for three, day off Monday, Cincinnati for three next Tuesday through Thursday, and then Washington, D.C., which is 45 miles southwest of Baltimore in the Beltway, for three next weekend. The Giants, I thought they were going to be 3-10 after this 13 games stretch to open the season. They're 5-8. I'm ecstatic about that, to be honest. The Giants, after a really tough loss on Sunday in the series finale against the Mets, the Giants lost 3 of 4 that series, and then a devastating loss in the opener of the 3-game series against the Phillies on Monday, which they blew a solid start from Adrian Hauser and ended up losing 6-4. They threw back-to-back shutouts to take the series against one of the best teams in baseball, 6-0 the final, behind a strong Robbie Ray start on Tuesday, and then 5-0 behind a nice Tyler Malley start on Wednesday. Rafael Devers with a big 3-run homer in the bottom of the 6th inning. I was telling Bruce McGowan, I was sitting next to Bruce, saying, I was just about to say, because Rafael Devers froze like a statue on a fastball for strike 3 on the inside corner to end the bottom of the first, and he grounded into a 4-6-3 double play to end the bottom of the fourth. So I was just before I was able to say to Bruce, all right, time for Rafael Devers to pop up all over himself. He hits the home run to center, so I was unable to say those words. But anyway, the Giants take the series. They are 5-8 on the year. Unfortunately, the schedule's not going to get much easier. I mean, the Orioles had a very disappointing year last year. I think they're 6-6 to start this season. But the Giants, it'll be a little, they're going to have to play the Reds, who were in the playoffs last year, are off to a good start this year. Then they have to play the Nationals, who are, they're not great. They're the one bad team the Giants are fortunate enough to get to play in the early portion of the year. But then they come home to have to play the Dodgers and the Marlins. The Marlins are no slouch. They then have to go to Philly and Tampa. Then they host the Padres and Pirates, and then they go to Dodger Stadium. So the Giants have played 13 games. They have 29 games left through the 4-game series in LA, May 11th through the 14th. After the game in LA on May 14th, and talk about another weird road trip, LA to Sacramento, only an hour and a half drive northeast of San Francisco, to Phoenix. Okay, anyway, let's not get sidetracked here. After the May 14th finale at Dodger Stadium, the Giants will have played 44 games, but their schedule's going to get much easier after that. So they've played 13. They're going to have to play another 29 through May 14th. If the Giants can go 13-16 in these next 29 games, and that would put them at a 19-25 record overall, which is not the greatest record through 44 games, I'll feel pretty damn good about this team. And I'm being honest here. As long as they're not too far under 500 when the schedule gets much easier, because then, they're going to go to Sacramento to play the A's, go to Arizona to play the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are a 500 team. Then after that, you got the White Sox, the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, Brewers, and Cubs. The Brewers and Cubs, I think, are going to they kind of already showing signs of taking a step back this season. I mean, they're good teams, but I just don't think those two are going to be as good as they were last year. The schedule's going to get much easier in the middle of May. So if the Giants can just hang in there, go 13-16 in the next 29 games, and be 19-25 overall after May 14th, I'll feel good. And I'm being perfectly honest with you all here. I will actually feel good. It is a tough schedule. I was fully expecting the Giants to be 3-10. And look, I get that there's really no such thing as a must-win game in the second week of the season, but the Giants definitely needed those 2 wins against the Phillies. They really desperately needed those wins, because you look at the way things were going with the Giants, really bad bullpen, the offense not exactly hitting. I mean, this was a situation where, with the bad bullpen, some of the news coming out of the Giants clubhouse. Now, Tony Vitello went on 95.7 the game this morning, went on the morning roast with Joe Shasky and I think Sam Lubman. I don't know if Spadoni was back this morning, But apparently he clarified. He said the 2 clubhouse incidents were only guys speaking out or speaking up. We weren't there. We don't know what happens behind closed doors, so we can only speculate. Let's hope Tony's being honest here. But this was one of those situations where after the loss to the Phillies on Monday, it was one of those situations where, this season could spiral out of control really quickly. So they definitely needed those 2 wins. As I still said, they still need to address the bullpen ASAP. Matt Gage, he's encouraging. Ryan Walker does well when he's not closing. Eric Miller is encouraging. Even Keaton Wynn can do well from time to time. There is still plenty of time to fix the bullpen. I've also been thinking about the fact that Christian Koss didn't take a single at bat until he made his start on Wednesday in the series finale against the Phillies. And you guys have guys like Gerard Encarnacion on the roster. Really, Gerard Encarnacion? So Bryce Eldridge, Drew Gilbert, and Jesus Rodriguez are all off to great starts. I really wanted Jesus Rodriguez to make the team. I get it. The Giants have 2 catchers. Daniel Susak's off to an incredible start. And I love watching him play. He can line the ball the other way, which is exactly how the Giants need to play. And no, I did not intend for that to rhyme. But Jesus Rodriguez, look, first of all, it doesn't hurt to have a third catcher. But second of all, he's a utility guy. He can play the infield. He can play the outfield. He hits for contact. Doesn't strike out much. And he is off to a torrid start for the River Cats this year. I may try to make it out to a game tomorrow or Sunday. They have got to bring Jesus Rodriguez up. I also really want to see Bryce Eldridge and Drew Gilbert, who are off to great starts, come up, though both of them need their seasoning. Eldridge could come up at some point in May, maybe Gilbert late May or June. Those 2 still need seasoning, and I do want to see those 2 up later this year, or at least later here in the first half. But Jesus Rodriguez needs to be brought up now. He is a far superior player to Gerard Encarnacion. He really is. And they do need to switch up the roster a little bit. They just do. But as I said, go 13-16 in their next 29 games, be 19-25 at the end of the series in LA after May 14th. Bring up Rodriguez, and then by that point, bring up Eldridge and maybe even Drew Gilbert and fix the bullpen. And this team could be in really good shape. And actually, speaking of the bullpen, Blake Tidwell, I was a little concerned after his outing on Monday because Alec Ballman a long fly ball off of him, and who was it? Was it Stott or someone else who flew out to the track? But he had a really good outing on Wednesday. I think Blake Tidwell has some real potential. I've talked about how I'd like to see him in the rotation. Maybe he'll be a closer. And the Giants, of course, have been put in a bind because Randy Rodriguez he had Tommy John surgery last year. He's out for all of this year, and that's a big blow. The Giants do not have a closer right now. And if they are going to contend, they are going to have to get the bullpen situation under control. It's as plain and simple as that. But it's good that there are some guys in the bullpen who look like they can step up, like Tidwell, like Eric Miller, like Matt Gage. And hopefully Jose Butto won't be out too long because he can really step up as well. So it's the Giants and the Orioles tonight, game 1 of a 3-game series from Camden Yards. I have the unfortunate news for you that it is going to be on Apple TV. So if you do not have a subscription to Apple TV, you are shit out of luck. The good news is I'll be providing at least some play-by-play tonight, as much as my voice and energy can give you. As Landon Roop will take the ball tonight, he will be up against Shane Baz, his first year as an Oriole. The Giants' starting lineup will look like this. Willie Adames will lead off. Luis Arias, who's hitting .320. We saw him hit a triple and a single in the series finale against the Phillies Wednesday. He hit second. Matt Chapman hitting third. Rafael Devers, he's back at first. You saw him at first base in the Phillies series too. He hits cleanup. Casey Schmidt will be the DH, and I think it's good that he's not playing first base, but he's got a good bat. He's hitting fifth. Jung-Hoo Lee, another guy off to a rough start. He's hitting sixth. Elliot Ramos seventh. Patrick Bailey eighth. and Harrison Bader ninth. Harrison Bader, I really like that acquisition, but he's hitting 114. Patrick Bailey was hitting 083 going into Sunday's games against the Mets. He's gotten his average up to 147, but Bailey's never been the greatest with the bat. He's had some big hits at times. Of course, the walk-off inside the park home run against the Phillies last year, the walk-off grand slam against the Dodgers last September. But Bailey's rough start strengthens my case for bringing up Jesus Rodriguez. And again, yes, Bailey's a great defensive catcher, and Susak's a pretty solid defensive catcher. Again, doesn't hurt to have a third catcher. And Rodriguez is a utility guy who can play all over the place. I don't know why Buster Posey hasn't called him up, though. Do wait till Monday, so at least I can get a good look-see at him in Sacramento here this weekend. So Giants and Orioles will be getting underway. First pitch will be at 4:15 Pacific, so 27 minutes from now. I just wanted to give my thoughts on the final two games against the Phillies, on the state of the Giants, what the Giants need to do going forward, and this upcoming road trip and the series that starts tonight at Camden Yards. Mike Vallis here. He says, hey, Steven, good news for Bader. Doesn't have to hit in front of Bailey today for the first time this year. Is it the first time he's not hitting in front of Bailey? I mean, Bader's been off to a rough start too. Jung-Hoo Lee's been off to a rough start, and I went into very concrete detail about Lee on Monday and how he's one of the guys, again, even though he's a contact hitter, if you have an MLB.TV subscription, watch the end of the Giants-Yankees game. The Giants home opener, the non-Netflix opener, which was the second game of the season. We're talking about the day game on Friday, March 27th. And you will see Lee in the dugout practicing doing this. And it's like, why? And this is like the stuff that makes me think the nerds are getting to him. And again, I have no proof of any of this, but it's this kind of stuff that's like, Buster's preaching small ball. Hunter Mentz, the new hitting coach, is a small ball guy. I imagine Tony Vitello doesn't want guys always swinging from their heels. But Jung-Hoo Lee, who had a great spring training, hitting for contact down in warm, dry Arizona, suddenly comes home to cold, foggy San Francisco and is trying to lift everything. I just can't help but think the nerds got to him. And I don't know, again, if the nerds have some sort of agenda, because, I mean, look, I'll be honest. A team doing well without hitting a bunch of home runs is bad news for the nerds. I don't think the nerds have any sort of union, but I doubt, I would say less than 10% chance this is the case, but I wouldn't rule out them coordinating between teams and other teams telling maybe the Giants nerds, hey, nib this shit in the bud right now, because if you guys do well without home runs, that's not good for us. That's not good for our line of work. I wouldn't rule that out. Again, do I think that's happening? I doubt it, but I wouldn't rule that out. And I do want, I was, really pissed off after the game Monday night, basically screaming at the top of my lungs about how I wanted answers for why Giants hitters were trying to hit home runs. I'm still upset about last year. The Giants were playing good station-to-station baseball in the first 5 weeks of the season. Or 5 or 6 weeks of the season. Wait, was it 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks of the season when they got off to the 24-14 start after their getaway win against the Cubs on May 7th at Wrigley Field. But then suddenly May 9th, everything changed and they were suddenly trying to hit home runs all the time like it was 2021 to 2024 again. And I want to know why that happened and if the nerds had a role in that. And if the nerds did indeed have a role in that, why the nerds wanted it. It could be, we did the numbers and it's the algorithms say home runs are better, so you guys should hit home runs. I want answers to that. Because if the Giants didn't do that, they probably would have been in the playoffs last year. Talent-wise, that last year's team was probably the best Giants team since the championship years. Better talent-wise than the 21 team. Could even argue better than the 2016 team, actually. Some ways could even argue better than the 2014 team. I mean, you could have argued it was the best Giants team since 2012 on paper. And their 24-14 start was no fluke. They were a good team, but they just started trying to hit home runs again, and they predictably, as a result of that, collapsed. And I do want answers uh, for why that happened last year. I have tried to talk to analytics people. Some of them are friendly, some of them are not. I encountered two who were friendly. One of them, of the two, is not there anymore. The one who wasn't particularly friendly is still there. I would like to talk to them, whether it be on or off camera, just to, like, and I'm not looking for any animosity. I'm not going to be hostile. Just, frank conversation about the game to see pick their brain to see where they at. Do they actually have a feel for the game? And again, I have no, I think analytics department should be like 3 or 4 people, and it should be people who have an understanding for the game. I know a guy who was doing analytics for the Giants during the championship years who was a college pitcher, and when I run into him, I mean, he talks about the game and talks like an ex-ball player. He has a real feel and understanding for the game. People who work in analytics departments, if they're good at that stuff, should at least have to have a good feel and understanding for the game. And a lot of the nerds that make up the analytics departments today don't have that feel and understanding for the game. I was mentioning 95.7 the game because they talked to Tony Vitello this morning. Sam was filling in for Spadoni yesterday on the morning roast, and Sam and Shasky interviewed Buck Showalter. So if you can find Thursday's morning roast, the interview was, I think, at around like 9:20, around that time. Very good interview. I actually listened to it before I came on the air here. Showalter is a little more new age than I would have expected. He likes ABS. Blech. He actually likes the idea of a double back at first base. I'm figuring that one out. He actually likes the idea of a ground rule triple. I like the idea of a ground rule triple. 2 rule changes I'd like to see. A steal of first base. It'd be basically the same as a drop third strike. Like, you'd only be able to do it with an open first base, or yeah, only an open first base. I mean, with the drop third, because there are 2 outs, everyone would be, and it's the third strike of the potential third out of the inning. Everyone's on the move. Only difference between that and the drop third was, even with 2 outs, because there hasn't been a third strike yet, you wouldn't be able to do it without an open first base. But if there's an open first base, I love the idea of being able to steal first base. I really do. And a ground rule triple. I would say, and it wouldn't be in a lot of ballparks, but if there are dimensions, and most ballparks are not going to have dimensions of 410 feet or deeper, but in ballparks that do, which include Oracle Park, I think a ball that bounces over the wall with any dimension that's 410 feet or more should be 3 bases. And Buck Showalter agrees with me. All right, Giants and Orioles. If you have Apple TV, you're in luck. If you don't, well, your pal Steven will have you at least somewhat covered for as long as my voice and energy can last. I'd like to thank Mike Val for coming on in the comments. For my boss, Lee Leonard, because this is a presentation of Sports Radio Service, and just for the disclaimer, the views and language of the show do not reflect those of Sports Radio Service, their sponsors, or their leader, Lee Leonard. I am Stephen Rubin. Hope you enjoyed the first Insomniac Lunatic Fringe Giants pregame show of the season. Hopefully the Giants can pull one out tonight. They do need to go at least 5-4 on this trip, because you got the Dodgers at Oracle Park, or shall we say Dodger Stadium North, when this road trip ends. So a 5-4 road trip before, most likely being swept by the Dodgers, that would be a good thing. All right, enjoy the game, folks. I'll talk to you soon.